This is Dr. Tamia Guest with Rejuvenating Chiropractic.
This is Nara Reed with Modified Nutrition Health Coach.
This is Karen Marcel with June Street Barbershop.
This is Tiffany Marcel with Marcel Luxury Realty, and you're listening to Boss Talk Radio. I paid the call to be born.
Welcome to Boss Talk Radio, the #1 online business and entrepreneurial talk show, brought to you by Elite 8 Tax and Financial Services. Here's your host, the Texas tax expert, George Dandridge.
Welcome back to another episode of Boss Talk Radio, coming to you live from my beautiful hometown of New Orleans. So y'all gonna have to forgive me if you hear my accent kick back in and everything. I've been around family, having fun, hanging out with friends and stuff. So y'all might get a little bit of that country twang in this thing. So I want to apologize for the top of the hour because we had such a powerful message for you guys. By some of our guests today, Shatan and Carissa Rogers of B3 Health and Life Coaching. And it really was a message about being flexible in your approach, pretty much understanding the objective and getting out of your own self way. And that message couldn't have come at a more important time. So what I am going to do, I did post a video earlier on my page, so you guys can go ahead and go there and get that message. Of course, we're going to have it on the replay of the broadcast and everything, but that's what it's all about today. So we're going to talk about a number of aspects of life, health, and of course we have to get into that business thing. And we're going to talk about the coaching aspects, because what you find in any particular segment of time you want to use, there's a kind of a hot, catchy trend or term or whatever that people use. And today that term is coaching. And there was a point where it was consulting and different things like that. But we're going to talk about the criteria that goes into how to choose a coach. And of course, having the right coach for the right thing. Now, first and foremost, you have to be your own self-star player. But even the greatest star player needs coaching. LeBron James didn't get where he is without ever having a coach, but he had to have a coach at different levels and for different things. Those of you that have known me a long time, I used to work with athletes in different business ventures and whatnot. And one of the things I found interesting, one of my close business partners at the time, he wasn't satisfied with his raw talent and ability and being chosen in the top first round or whatever. So after he had made it to the league, after he had secured a spot on the starting lineup, he would hire these coaches that had absolutely or seemingly nothing to do with football at all. He hired a great martial arts coach at one time, and I was like, so plan on doing some self-defense? You plan on having some up close and personal contact or something? Because, we got these guns over here. And he's like, no, you use your hands on the line. And so I'm training my hands to be quicker so I can move people. I was like, wow, and it was a paradigm shift. And if you're in business and you found yourself having plateaued, you may know a great deal. You may be a subject matter expert in what it is you do, but there are different aspects to your business that you even may be decent at or proficient in, but speaking to the right coach can really break the ceiling for you and take you to another level in business. So that's some of what we're going to be talking about today. The segment that we couldn't have the sound on was intended to be the boss motivation piece. And what I want to talk about now, before I introduce our first guest and get into the health and life aspect, is first I want to applaud everybody who is not living in fear right now. There's a fine line between safety, precaution, and scared as hell. And for whatever age you are right now, you're never going to be that age again. I would encourage you to start to live again. I'm not saying go out and be reckless and, hang in the crowded club with no mask, sharing drinks or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But for me personally, 2020 was a phenomenal year. And I know a lot of people had a lot of struggles, but as what's normal for me, when I have any type of challenge, I dive into work. I'm a workaholic. That's what I do. And I did not know I wasn't okay until about 2 weeks ago. Yet another event I was looking forward to got canceled. And sometime right before that, I decided, hey, I'm going to push myself to get out of my comfort zone. And Carissa and Shatanya had spoke on that on the segment where we didn't have any sound. And it was funny because I had already done this before they sent me the video. And I was like, I would have never been able to communicate that to the audience or articulate that the way they did. So, I'm a city boy. I didn't know how to fish. I went deep sea fishing this year, caught a bunch of reds. Y'all seen the photos a few weeks back. I went deer hunting for the first time. Went hog hunting the last week. And even though I was doing these things and I was enjoying myself and, breaking this new plateau or whatever and finding some different hobbies or whatever, I still wasn't complete. And I didn't know what was wrong. And my oldest uncle that's living had been on my mind for a while. And I called my mom and I was like, hey, you know what? I just have to get to New Orleans. I got to get to New Orleans, get around my uncle, my a couple cousins, and just get this love thing happening. I need that right now, like I need sunlight. And she was like, yeah, well, I was flying down there, but I'm going to cancel the flight and ride with you, And so I get down here and there was just this outpouring of love and everything. And I didn't realize how bad I needed that. It's like all of these different areas in life in 2020 was going great, success by all measures. But I had a void going on because I'm a family person and I had missed the touch and feel and camaraderie of family and friends. So shout out to my boy Boom for getting on the grill, hooking up those lamb burgers and everything. I appreciate that. The day I got in town, I want to give a special shout out to John and Kimberly DeLosa with A Solid Photography, because y'all, I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I have a guilt complex when I'm having too much fun and I'm not getting work done. So shout out to them for setting up this last minute photo shoot and everything for destinations and occasions. That went really well this morning. Y'all, believe it or not, I went shopping. Like I went and helped pick out outfits and everything, coordinate all of that. But it was fun, and we, start to cram in the session. And they was like, "Hey, G, we gotta go do the show." I was like, "Peace," So made it back over to the hotel in time, got set up, and I'm excited to come back and talk to you guys. And what I want you to do is, I want you guys to type in the comments online. Of course, give StreamYard permission to identify you. Otherwise, you're just going to show to me as a Facebook user. I won't see your name. Shout out to Renika for tuning in. Tequila Campbell, I see you. So what I want you guys to do is type into the comments some of the challenges you may have and really interact with the coaches that we have on today. We have Kate Bueller with the Fiscal firm, because we're really going to get into that business aspect. But we're going to start off with Carissa and Shatan, because I think that in order to be able to function in any area, whether it's business or anything else, that whole self has to be whole or whatever. So we're going to pay some bills and we'll be right back. If I can find the bills to pay. There we go.
The U.S. government has given billions of dollars to businesses in an effort to curb the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The government will begin to pursue recouping these funds in 2021. Aggressive penalties will be imposed on companies that do not follow regulations and guidelines for proper use of these funds. Criminal charges are already being levied on fraudulent use. Don't suffer again. Get a customized business operations success suite from Elite 8 Tax and Financial Services for your company today. BOSS packages include entity formation, payroll, accounting and bookkeeping, tax planning, tax filings, and quarterly strategy sessions to minimize your tax liability, increase efficiency, and maximize your profits. Make your appointment today at elite8financial.com. Get the guidance, tools, and protection your business needs now. Get BOSS. Get behind the shield.
Finding your brand space in this ever-changing economy can be challenging to new and established businesses. Graphic Line Media can help launch your business's brand potential to unknown places with creative revisioning that relentlessly presses the competition. From graphic design, web, print, apparel, media, and social, we have something designed to grow your business. Don't hesitate. Rule your space. Visit Graphic Line Media at graphiclinemedia.com or join our Facebook page at Graphic Line Media to get special discounts and offers.
Welcome back to Boss Talk Radio. I'm your host, George Dandridge, your Texas tax expert. And today we have Miss Carissa Rogers and Shatan Rogers in the building. How you doing today, ladies?
Hey, we are good. Good. How are you?
I am super great. I have had my fill. My soul is full, having been here with family and friends. I hadn't been home in probably 4 years or whatever. So this was everything for me. Too bad it wasn't crawfish season.
Yeah.
I really have that accent coming out, but
oh my God, make sure you bring us back some. I'm hungry. Right.
Well, it's not the season, so I'll bring back a couple po' boys in that thing or something. Which I just had one. So I probably gained 15 pounds in 5 days, but I've been having a good time. So go ahead and tell everybody about you guys, your company, and your background. And then I'm going to bring Ms. Beeler in and do the same. And then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this thing.
Yes. Okay. Well, I am Carissa, obviously, and this is my mom, Shatan. We run B3 Health and Life Coaching together. We both work as health and life coaches. I refer to myself as a prosperity coach because I am here to help people in their particular endeavors to prosper in the fashion in which they see, themselves prospering. I also work additionally as a creative consultant because I'm a firm believer that our creativity is everything. It's our guiding force into whatever we decide to do. And so I help people to find and cultivate that inside voice and their innovation and their creativity and apply that to whatever area of their life they're needing help in. As health and life coaches, specifically trained through the Health Coach Institute, we are trained to help in 5 areas. So that's in your relationships, in your career, in your health, in your spirituality. We touch kind of just on a little bit of, everything. So I work to prosper people in those particular areas. And then my mom.
She is definitely the creativity behind a B3 Health and Life Coaching. Just having her to just build everything up in the background, I would have been completely lost. So I'm thankful to her for that. But I do the relationship coaching part of it, and some health coaching part of it too. The health coaching part is really, really new in the industry. A lot of people still have not heard about health coaches. I know one of the biggest questions that people ask about health coaching is if it's covered by insurance. They are working on that, to see if that's something that can be included. But we definitely touch on the big five, and we do good, as a mother-daughter combo here. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I was just going to talk about that part because I was going to let everybody know, you might not believe, but that is a mother and daughter team. And they're also behind the shield, the Elite Eight clients.
Yes. 5 years now, George.
Yes. And now I also want to bring on Miss Kay Beeler with the Fiscal firm. And of course, she's all about the executive coaching. Welcome to the show, Miss Kay Beeler. How you doing today?
Hi, how are you? Happy day after Thanksgiving.
Same to you. Happy Black Friday. I am absolutely phenomenal. The hardest thing I have to deal with in life right now is that I actually have to wrap my mind around packing these bags and heading back to Dallas tomorrow and getting back in the spirit frame of mind, at least for a couple of days, because next week my official vacation starts. Shout out to all the Sagittarius SAG season. Woo woo. Hey, we're going to start that. But okay. Go ahead and enlighten the audience about your experience, your background, and what it is you do to put the money in the pocket.
Okay. Well, I'm Kay Beeler. I started off my professional career as a consultant. So one of those other catch terms that you started. And I still do a lot of that. And what I found, I started for a big engineering firm and eventually went out on my own about 15, 16 years ago. And what I found was it was a very lonely space, a very lonely existence. There wasn't a lot of support, particularly for small businesses that had never created infrastructure. So as I started to gain some success, I got a lot of questions about how did you do this? Not only from small businesses, but also executives. So as people started asking and saying, hey, can you help me? That's how the coaching part of my business came along. And it's been very enlightening, but also most people, as you alluded to and mentioned earlier, like LeBron, executives, we need a coach. We need another ear. So I'm that whispering, like the dog whisperer, I'm that executive whisperer in the C-suite. And so kind of help out of those lonely spots, some lessons learned, some what are we doing? How can we strengthen the toolkit and just be that extra arm? Because a lot of times you can't really confess to your employees and also some of your competitors where your pain points are. So having that is has been very rewarding. And I just love helping people. And I'm that, honest voice. What the heck are you doing and why? So
I can't think of an entrepreneur I've ever met that doesn't have that lonely space because, hey, employees no knock, but at the end of the day, all they care about is when the check is coming and that it clears,
Exactly.
For entrepreneurs, business owners, the challenges from the ups and downs of sales to really narrowing in an idea, especially if you're transcending from a circle of people that don't have that relative experience and understanding. It's like, you can talk, but there's nothing really to come back to you because their opinions are really not founded on anything. So I think that that's an important service. You're listening to Boss Talk Radio. We're going to be back in just a moment here. We're going to pay some more bills. Yes, we have bills. And if you want to advertise on Boss Talk Radio, be sure to send an email at sales@talkbossradio.com. We'll be right back after this.
Ready to begin your business? Should you be an LLC or a C corporation? How do you track the cost of goods versus operating supplies? What are your depreciable assets? Are you structured to obtain business credit? Not sure? Get a boss. An individual business operations success suite from Elite 8 Tax and Financial Services will position your business for success and avoid the pitfalls of startups. From registering with your state, operating agreements, bookkeeping, tax filings, and more, Elite 8 Tax and Financial Services can be your growth partner at every level of your business. Schedule your needs assessment today at www.elite8financial.com/boss or by phone at 469-412-0056.
And we are back on Boss Talk Radio. We have Shatan and Carissa with B3 Health and Life Coaching. We have Kate Beeler with the Fiscal firm. And we're talking about the importance of finding the right coach at the right time. And in today's society, you have kind of this convoluted thing because since it's the hot term, everybody claims to be a coach. And then there's the part of, well, what type of coach do you need? Now, I was reluctant to this area myself for quite a while. And then I start seeing some colleagues have success on LinkedIn. And I don't know the first thing about LinkedIn. It was always the job site to me. And so one of the things that I saw a couple of them had in common was they all had the same coach, which is Tawana Ross, the LinkedIn professor. Shout out to my coach, Tawana Ross, now, because I had to go in and do that thing. And so we're working behind the scenes to create the hot profile and, the keywords and all of this stuff I don't know about LinkedIn. It doesn't translate to a tax language, but it's necessary for that professional connection or whatever. And so it's been well worth the investment, and I haven't even thrown it all out yet. I remember in our first conversation, there was such a clarity she was able to bring to my vision. It was like, yeah, I had it. She understood it, but she was able to translate it to people that don't speak my language, that tax and financial language. And so let's start with Shatan, because you do the relationship part. And I want to get into that because I think too often people hear the word relationship and they immediately confine that to an intimate relationship. But oftentimes the same consequences or the same pain points you have in an intimate relationship, you're probably experiencing that in business. You just don't know it because the business person is not going to tell you. They're just going to stop doing business with you. So tell us how, what does the client look like that could benefit from that relationship clarity?
And that's such a good point too, George, because it isn't just relationships, as far as intimate, it could be family relationships, it could be, co-workers, it could be friends. So it could be relationships on all levels, and just how to connect authentically, because we put on so many faces with so many different people in so many different areas. And so the relationship portion just kind of puts you in a place so that you can be your true authentic self, no matter what your relationship scenario is, and to kind of help to mold you, so to speak, to be able to be yourself in all those areas, no matter what it is that you're encountering.
And Carissa, you brought up something earlier. I think that people underestimate, maybe underestimate is not the right word. I don't think people value what the entirety is when it comes to the term creativity. I think when you say creative, people think of the artist or the songwriter or the content, creators or whatever. But I think that we all have some creative ability in us. And oftentimes people are just unable to find it or they know what it is and they don't know how to communicate it. Talk to us about the value of being able to have a coach get that thing out of you.
Yes, because it is my favorite thing. We hear so much about our IQ, your intelligence quotient, and your EQ, your emotional quotient. I'm a firm believer that we have a creative intelligence, and part of what I've built within my practice is that same belief. Some people may say they've heard of Howard Gardner. He has like this theory of multiple intelligences, for example. So part of with my practice and that creativity is you have to understand what makes you you. You may be musically creative. You may be a bodily kinesthetic creative. You may be the type of creative who, I am a visionary. I may be, physically capable of drawing. There's just so many different ways. And the biggest thing with having a coach is not that most people lack, the willpower or the, what do I want to do? It's not that people lack clarity. Mm-hmm. And so in being a coach and helping people to find their creativity, it's let's get clear about what speaks to you, what resonates within your spirit. So often people only move forward when they have that spark. Like they're like, I have this great idea. And they go while they have the momentum. Part of that creativity is figuring out, what sparked that for you and how do we now cultivate that so that we can keep that spark going so that you can continue to have that passion, continue to have that drive and continue to stay motivated because that creativity looks different for everyone. So we then go in and tap in like, what is that for you? And we build on that because everyone has something. So we find that creativity, we find out what is your why, you got to stay motivated, what's going to keep you driven in the process. And then we just kind of go from there because creativity looks like so many different things to so
And that's the thing, like people have to understand, your creativity may not look like this. That does not lessen the fact that it is in fact creative.
Exactly.
One of my biggest highs of 2020, I was talking to my IT guy, and in the course of the conversation, he said this so nonchalantly, and he was like, "Well, yeah, now that you're a content creator, you want to," and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute." Don't
look at me.
Yeah, you're a content creator. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a content creator." I totally underestimated that space. I didn't see that as creating, and so you help identify people's triggers because I'm the poster child for what you're talking about. I feel kind of picked on for a minute, but it's like I'm either all the way over here, The good part is that I had my primary care doctor tell me this way back in 2005. She literally said, "George, you're an extremist. You're either all the way over here or you're all the way over here. You're going to have to find some balance." I've gotten much better, but it's like I'm either in work mode or create mode, and they don't function together. Fortunately, I have a director of operations that just crack the whip and get me back to whatever I need to get to. But when I'm in create space, oh man, I'm all over the place. It's like if I wrote it on the wall, it'd be just this big collage that only I understood until I start lining up my key players. Because I can think of it, I just can't make it happen. So I have a team of people that, bless their soul, they seem to be able to put my vision into some communicable thing and, have it hashed out. Because me, myself, he's like, "What do you want it to look like?" "I don't know, but it's got to do this."
Because it's yours. But you found what works for you. That's a big thing in leadership. And that's why having a coach helps. Because for you, it's delegation. Like you said, you have these people lined up who you can say, "Okay, I've got this going on and this person will keep you on track. And these people will help with execution." So you are able to find what works for you. Some people just can't. And that's what part of it is. They're just like, I have all these ideas just everywhere. And how do I bring it in? And now I'm jumping to this because I'm excited about this. And I'm jumping to this because I'm excited about this. it's like, that's why you want to find that coach. Like, okay, baby, let's bring it in. Let's talk. Let's figure it out.
Now, I'm not throwing no shade, but you just made me have a thought when you said people jumping from this to this. So no knock to my MLM folks, but if you found yourself working in 7 organizations in 3 years, you might want to call Carissa and help her have you narrow that thing down. Let me see if I can get Kay's mic back on here. Can you hear me, Kay?
I can.
Awesome.
I can.
Let's talk about the money.
Okay.
One of the things that small businesses that I've encountered all across the country suffer with is cash flow. And the main reason that they suffer from cash flow is because they don't understand their numbers.
Right.
There's this new space. It's not really new. I guess it's a modified space, the virtual CFO space, which I personally am finding success in. But sometimes a person doesn't really need a virtual CFO. They need someone to just be able to shift their paradigms in different ways and make the points connect, you know. How does an executive coach beyond the numbers kind of bring all of that in line? Because, you know, the like you said earlier, the executive is a lonely space because you can't just tell all your team members what you're really dealing with.
Exactly.
The bottom may be about to fall out. So I would imagine that you're kind of part psychotherapist too.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's an important point, because that's where we start, is what keeps you up at night? That's usually my first question. And a lot of times it starts with the money. When do we get money in? And when I look at receivables, a lot of people, especially in consulting, they talk about their contracts, they talk about backlog, but you can go out of business with $3 million in backlog if that cash isn't coming in right. So getting to a conversation of what keeps you in at night and establishing that trust of, why did you start your business? Are you having fun? Because most executives, when I start, they don't even like their business anymore, but they can't say it. And so it's like, how can we get you? Why did you start? And are you having fun? And how do we get this? How do you like it again? And if you think about a relationship, it's like, oh Lord, I've been married 20 years and I really don't like you. We just got all these kids together. So I start there and I comb through the numbers. And a lot of times, as the coach, but with the financial background, I can bring in someone like you and be that mediator, that facilitator, because that takes some of that sting and kind of that microscope off of like, hey, I'm not here to judge, I'm here to help. So how do we peel back these layers and say, okay, like, you know, taxes, that's a huge issue. I have a couple of clients that are afraid for employees to open their mail. So we started a discussion of, why are you afraid to open your mail? Because it's not going anywhere. And then we go through the stack of mail. So usually it's, what's keeping you up at night? Why are you walking the floor? And that's our first conversation. And it's usually either money or operations, those two things. And so we just peel back from there. And so just having that, establishing that trust, a lot of times it'll be, oh my gosh, I'm scared. I'm afraid to go on vacation, because they think just the bottom is going to fall out. So you going on vacation is really important, and executives going on vacation. So just starting the trust, and then I kind of peel back of, let's see what's going on in the mail. Let me see how many emails you have unopened. Let's talk to your staff. I talk to everybody from the janitor to your COO to your CFO. A lot of things, they manifest themselves as money, but they're really other issues. So it's really, how do we look at this infrastructure? Because a lot of us just start a business and we figure it out later. That's really how we start. So it's like, you know, I started a business and then it's like, wait, I got employees. Like, what am I supposed to do? So that's usually where I start, is just that trust. But a lot of people that come to me, they already know me in some way, or they've been exposed to the K factor, because it's like, I'm quick to say, like, why are you doing that? And I'm very transparent about some of my issues, how I had, when I first started, probably about 12 years ago, payroll tax issues. And so what you do, you know, trust taxes, and having that honest conversation about, you don't want to get in trouble with the 941. So as you were talking about looking for a coach, some of those things, finding a coach that can be honest about, hey, I did this. You don't want to go that way. Finding a good assistant.
And, I think there's a couple. I don't want these points to go. I'm echoing somewhere. Is that me? There's some points you made, and they weren't as direct as I'm going to make them, but I don't want anybody to miss these. And so one of the first ones was that, as I say all the time, you don't know what you don't know, and that's one reason to hire a coach. In the case of the Fiscal firm and working with Kay, it's not just about her telling you what to do, it's also reaching into her network to pull assets to you to help you turn that corner. You guys didn't get to hear the message earlier, but go back on my page and watch the video from Shatan and Carissa. Carissa spoke to loving the process. She said you have to love the process. And going back to what Kay said, when you think about, you say you talk to some people and they don't love their business anymore, and I think one of the reasons it is for that is that they lost love for the process and they're too focused on the income versus the outcome and what goes in between that. Because those are the things that's going to sustain you, when times get hard. Right. For those of you that have been tuned in for a while, y'all know that that BOSS is an acronym. It's the Business Operations Success Suite. And you spoke to operations. Guys, let me just tell you, although I focus on financial operations, Kay's spectrum is much more broad because she works on operational efficiencies beyond the numbers or whatever. And this is why hiring the right coach for the right thing is important. When you want to talk about these numbers and where you're spending too much money, oh yeah, you can talk to me all day, but don't try to get me talking about the what they call it, the algorithms and whatnot of your marketing. And again, I don't do that. That's not what I do.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point about the right coach, but it's also part of what I do is help my clients hire, because you have to have the right butts in the right seats. And as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we know what we started our business for, but there are all these other things that go along with it. So one of the questions I ask is, do we have the right people in the right seats? And, one of the stories that I tell is I hired my best friend when I started. Yeah, no. And I tell people, don't hire anybody you can't fire. And going through that interview process, and how when we do panels, some of my larger clients that are cities or local agencies, is having an interview panel and having 2 or 3 people on it. If I'm hiring an assistant for you, is, I may know your personality and say, look, if you send him 10 questions instead of concise, he's going to be frustrated. He's out of town. How do we get it? And so a lot of times, and I'm like horrible about that, but having that honest conversation of, do we have the right people doing the right things? Because a lot of, as entrepreneurs, we know why we started a business. If we love baking, we love baking the cake. We may not love the accounting. We may not love the legal, or now with COVID, there's a lot of restrictions. Do you have a good compliance person? Who can we find to keep you doing what you're good at so the business can run? So that is a huge thing. Once you get into doing all of these other things, like I hate HR. I just don't like it. So me outsourcing a lot of that is important, but I had to learn some of those soft skills, and some of my mentors and the coach that I had helped me, like, hey, you need to be a little patient, hear about the boyfriend issue over the weekend and things like that. And so those are some of the things that I try to tease out, because it's usually the minutia of just dealing with people and the functions of your business that make you kind of fall out of love with your business, because you're like, oh my God, I got to do payroll. Well, why are you doing payroll anyway? Why don't you outsource that? Why are you, well, COVID has just changed everything, but even it's a global economy. We've been talking about home-based businesses for years, and it wasn't sexy just 2 years ago. People thought that was, some slight if you worked out of your home. Now everybody's working out of their home. So it's like, how do we realign how you think of yourself? Because I thought, like, as a CEO, I'm supposed to have this 4,000 square foot high rise office, and paying $7,000 a month was nuts. But I did it. And to talk to people about, like, no, you don't want that office rent 5-year build out. Let me tell you how that impacts your bottom line. So I think this kind of dialogue and transparency is often where coaches start, because it's like, oh, I didn't even realize, like, why do I feel like this? Like, I had one client who just grew up wanting to wear pearls every day. Okay. Why? Why do you feel you need to dress up? And that impacts the culture of your office, because they really didn't have an office that needed to dress up. And so we kind of peeled back her layers of how she saw herself, but she wanted to put all of that on her employees. And it was tough, because it just wasn't the environment for dressing up. It was in Pittsburgh, and everybody was pretty laid back, and, it was a graphics firm. So graphics people, they're not trying to wear a business attire every day.
Right. They're not trying to do that.
Exactly. So that is a big thing that I talk about, is having the right butts in the seat. And that's a very introspective and often sometimes painful process, because you have employees that you really like, but they may not be right in that seat or in your company.
Well, I want to hit this question with Shatan, because you mentioned the right butts in the right seats. And I think it's necessary to add this factor to this. And I want to hear actually from both of you on this. I know you don't like to do HR, but sometimes a qualified person is just not the right fit. Mm-hmm. And so the question for Shatan is, when a person has to deal with the relationship aspect, professional relationship aspect, what should they do to help themselves identify what characteristics another person needs to have in order to work with them? Because they may have the education, they may have the skill sets, but just a chemical imbalance, like, especially when they're extroverted introvert like me, like, I just don't like people, like, I can work with people as long as I don't have to work with people, like, it's a strange dynamic, So what would you tell someone, or how would you direct them to self-discover the traits they need to look for when interviewing beyond the actual skill sets?
I know I'm gonna be kind of out there. Me, I connect with people, so I can, just really feel into what people are saying. I can feel into, what they're feeling, kind of thing, or whatever. And so I think that it's really just really listening to what the person is saying, because I believe that once you connect with that person, really connect with them and really listen to them, not just hear what they're saying, but to actually listen to them, that can make a huge difference in where you're trying to go with them, or where you're trying to take them, so that you can be in that space with them, as opposed to being apart from them, to really connect. And I think that makes a huge difference, if you're really able to tap into that part of them.
And I've seen this, but I didn't recognize it at the time that I was witnessing it. I didn't recognize it to be, for lack of better words, the creative space. But what is the impact of what is the impact on creativity for having the wrong person in a certain seat? Even though they're qualified, they have the skill sets, but their personality is cancerous to the environment. how costly is that, and how would you recommend either interacting with that person or preventing yourself from ever having put that person there?
Well, I'll start with the prevention portion. I think the biggest thing, and I'll kind of speak for my mom a little bit here too, we both come from corporate backgrounds. We both worked in corporate management, which we handled a lot of hiring and things like that. One thing we all know is just like people will, for lack of a better word, they will lie to get where they need to go. Like they'll make themselves look great on paper. So having that type of background, you kind of go into that creativity and you learn to go beyond what the, I'll call cute or political, politically correct questions should be to identify if someone fits within that area. And to me, that really starts with knowing that at the end of the day, not everybody wants, the partnership. Not everybody wants to be doing what they're doing. They just want the job and they want the money. So it becomes, okay, with knowing that, how do we look past that, and what is the passion in that person's eyes? It becomes identifying, how does it feel when interacting with that person? Does their eyes light up? Do you hear an influx in their voice when certain things are happening? Do you feel that they're going to bring just literally that certain passion to that project or to that business to say, we can do this? So even if we have moments where we clash, I know that we both are so connected with this that we're going to pursue forward, because not having that and not having the right people in the right spaces is literally cancerous, because you go from being a fountain to being a drain. So now you're not only dealing with the issues that you're going to deal with. Business is tiring. Jobs are tiring. It's going to have problems no matter how much you love it. So it needs to be, in my opinion, just like a relationship. Can you handle this at its worst? Like, it's easy to date the person at their best. Oh, we get along great. It's wonderful. That doesn't matter, because when stuff is bad, how is it then? It's the same thing looking at those business or partnerships and, relationships. And I tell people, the biggest thing when helping them working towards their businesses and finding that creativity and, in learning to prosper, being a prosperity coach, it's helping people figure out how to thrive, not just survive. Yeah. You don't need people just to help you to get by. Mm-hmm. You need to figure out what's going to take us to that next level. And it becomes that same thing that's like, okay, I need to identify my weaknesses, because if I'm seeing my same weaknesses in that person, it's just not going to work how it looks on paper. Who is going to counteract? When I'm low here, that they can bring us high here. When they're low here, I can bring them high here. How are they coachable and how am I coachable? How can we mutually benefit? To me, it honestly begins with identifying your own personal weaknesses and having that, hot conversation, that honest, open, and transparent conversation with that person, and knowing their weaknesses and saying, okay, how do these two marry and what can we do from here to continue to elevate?
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Mark Arrington tuning in. He's responsible for my branded footwear. I know y'all seen it because I clown with it. I did the fall edition and everything. That boy good artwork. Catch these hands. Well, what's going on, my coach Tawana? I don't know if you caught the top of the hour, but I was over here bragging on you in this thing or whatever. I didn't have time to reach out to connect you to the show today. But if you're catching this, tune in and see if we can throw you on the camera. Let's see. I'm gonna post the link for you too. If I can get the wait, hold on, y'all give me a second here, because we got my coach Tawana in the building. Yeah. I'm gonna sure try to get her on if I can get her on, but let's see what's happening here. Oh, I'm sucking up internet.
Well, and one of the things while you're sucking up internet that I also is I tell people when I interview, I want this person to show up who I'm interviewing today. So this is who I'm hiring. And also, I really had to hone my skills of seeking out that spirit of excellence. Because a lot of times you can be great at a skill set, but if you cannot serve, if you don't have that spirit of service, you don't have that spirit of excellence, it's just not going to work. So I learned how to get really granular. And I think that's one thing as executives we have to talk about is in hiring is, do people actually have that spirit of service and want to serve? Because we either sell products or we sell services, period. So if you can't
I
do
used
that.
to have this approach in corporate. when I was forced to have to hire people, my approach was I looked for a reason not to hire you. I would go through your resume and sit you down, and I know you have a scripted thought of how this is going to go. And my approach was to look for a reason not to hire you. And if I could get to the end of the interview and not come up with more than one or two good reasons not to hire you, then I call you in for a second interview and try again. But no,
Sagittarius.
Right.
But no, I think the old adage, slow to hire, quick to fire, because 2020, I got about my mental health in business and I start firing clients and be like, well, you have to be some kind of cocky to fire a client. Yeah, no, what we're not going to do is stress George. I'm about to enjoy this thing called life. And so I am blessed to be able to pick and choose who I work with, or what have you. And it's not a monetary thing. Like I don't only work with clients with this level of income. I work with clients that want to change their situation. It's futile for me to give you advice and give you direction, and the next year and the year that follows, you're in the exact same place. That does something that somehow that drains me. You're okay with it, so I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do it. Like I love to see growth in others, so I need to, have them react to stuff and whatever, in order for me to have my mental health. So I celebrate my clients all the time, when they're doing things and whatever out there. Sometimes I have to get on them because they're like real quiet about it and they don't celebrate. Oh, you better talk about it. So if you wanted to, this one, we're going to go in this order, Carissa, Shatan, and Kay. We're going to go in that order. If you wanted to leave the audience with a key point about the why to hire and the how to find a coach, what would it be?
Yeah, so for me, it would be kind of go into it open-minded. So often I think a big thing is, like I've said, people lack clarity. So they may go to it saying, I want to start a business, so I need this type of coach, not realizing your general basics weren't even where they needed to be. I would say go into it open-minded and be willing to interview people. It's a dual process where the coach will be able to say, I'm good for you, but maybe I can direct you elsewhere, because a lot of what we do is we're trained to listen. So I can identify, you think you needed me because I offer, prosperity coaching to help to take you to the next level. And I offer this creative coaching, but really you needed was this type of coach because I have this trained ear. I can now say, my colleague specializes in this area. You really need Kay. Let me put you in touch with Kay. Start just really open-minded and say, I'm just going to Google these keywords. I'm sure SEOs are set up for it. It directed me here. Either go with what felt right and resonated with your spirit, because that could be what's guiding you there, or just be willing to interview people and see who can put you in touch with who you need. And that's going to take out some of the legwork.
I like that. That's good. And I would just add on to that, and you spoke of this earlier. The market is really oversaturated right now with coaches. Like you're saying, everybody is a coach. So I would, definitely do the background work, because there are some coaches out there that are giving the good coaches bad names. And so I would just say to, just really do your research. Just about all coaches offer consultations. And the consultations are not just for the client, but it's also for us too, because an honest coach is going to let a client know if they're not a good fit for them. So it's both ways, and that's how it should be. So I would just say to really just to research, and to take your time and make sure that that you're feeling right with this person. Here I go with my feel again. I'm strong on feeling, okay? But just to make sure it feels, that it feels right, that it's a good fit.
Right. And I think just adding to what you guys said is having that honest conversation with yourself, kind of an internal gap analysis of how far are you from where you want to be. And then finding people that can shore up those gaps. And actually, I'm an advocate of finding somebody that makes you a little uncomfortable. Because if you get a yes coach or somebody who just wants your money.
Hold on, we ain't gonna just run past that like you ain't said. We gonna talk about getting uncomfortable. Because at the top of the hour, the message was getting out of your comfort zone. That was another part in there or whatever. And let me just tell you, if you comfortable with your coach or whatever, like for me, I'm working with Tawana Ross or whatever, and she was like, my man Dave Anderson is in the building. Talk about the coach of all coaches. Talk about making you uncomfortable. He'll get you real uncomfortable. In the building. And like I was saying, when it came to working with Tawana, and she was like asking me different like questions about myself or what I wanted to do. It's like, I don't have no opinion here. If I knew what the hell I was doing, I would need to tell me what to do. And in doing so, you have to not only be willing to get uncomfortable, but willing to do the work, that's in front, because that's part of what getting uncomfortable is actually doing the work, and so
show up for yourself.
Yeah.
You have, I think you said, you have to have that self gap analysis about how far you are in assessing how far you are from where you want to be. One of the questions you should ask yourself is, how much of that is my damn fault? How much of this is because I ain't did the work? You can't be frustrated about results you haven't gotten from work you didn't put in. And sometimes we just don't know what work to do. Being busy is not the same as being productive.
But we have to be coachable. And I ask them, like, are you ready for feedback? Like, do you want me to sugarcoat it, or we going to get it how we live? Because I don't have time. So we got this amount of time. And I think a lot of, as executives, we get to a place where feedback is hard. And so you have to be able to get that feedback. So get someone that's very comfortable and that you're giving you feedback, and ask them, hey, how comfortable are you pulling my coattail? How comfortable are you whispering in my ear? If I'm going left, can you tell me I should be going right? And so I think those are somebody that makes you a little bit uncomfortable, because you can't grow if they aren't. But I see we have a nice panel joining, but it's
the tribe is coming. The tribe is coming.
I say a lot of people want to put that title on as coach, but they don't want coaching. In some ways is like a ministry also, because you pour into your clients. And so I also have to be very transparent and comfortable telling my clients, like, hey, this is what happened. I'm a single mom. And so I understand that scheduling is sometimes a trigger for me. And so I had a coach who just said, like, look, don't nobody care. Okay. You show up and you figure out how to do your work in the background. And no one else could tell me that probably at the time, other than a coach. I had an infant. I was figuring out PR and all of this kind of stuff. And they were like, hey, don't nobody give a damn what your problems are.
And I don't want to run past this like you didn't say, because I think one of the other things that is crucial to this is that you have to not only being coachable, but in identifying the right coach to work for you. For me, as Dave Anderson always says, you have to have some results. You have to have done something for me to be able to look at and say, okay, I believe this person can get me there because they've done it this many times or whatever, with an array of different people. The results, just having, the receipts for the results. You don't want to hire a tax coach that's being audited. You don't want to hire, you don't want to hire a life coach that is, in and out of rehab every 4 months. It's like, it's got to make sense, and I think that you brought this up. I think this was Kay that mentioned transparency. And one of the things that I find interesting is the most successful coaches I know are never afraid to talk about their past pains and what they went through. And I think that makes them, somehow identifiable with people like, okay, he's been in this or she's been in this, so they would understand where I am. Because I think sometimes people may not reach out because they're like, man, they can't take me from here. I'm too far gone, or I'm going through this, or whatever the case may be. Now, the last part I'm going to add to this, because, I don't consider myself a coach. I'll whip your business and shape on these numbers or whatever, whether that's you want me to show you how to do it or you want me to do it. But one of the things I want to say on behalf of you ladies on the panel, my coaches that are tuned in right now, and everyone watching, is hiring a coach is an investment in yourself. I'm going to say that again. Hiring a coach is an investment in yourself. The reason I said that is because I'm just going to go ahead and address this. Y'all going to have to forgive me. As a matter of fact, we're going to touch this the way we're going to touch it. We're going to go ahead and hit this as that 5 minutes of fire segment. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. Hiring a coach is an investment in yourself. The key word there is an investment. Now, let me talk about you so-called business owners running around here online talking about you got a business and you looking for a mentor. Let me tell you something about a mentor. Mentors choose who they're going to work with. I don't know a coach that hasn't done some mentoring, but they're not in the business of mentorship, because mentorship does not pay. Mentorship is what we're able to afford to give back based on the fact that somebody else actually hired us. I'm going to talk about it. Can I talk about it?
Let's talk about it, Joe.
I'm just going to go and say, when you're looking for a coach, you might want to work with this one, but they may be out of your price range. That don't mean, hey, I bet your ass still bought a cell phone when you couldn't get the Apple i42, whatever. You still got your cell phone.
Apple i42.
You got something else. You got what worked at the time for where you at, So many times, some of y'all out here want to look like something you're not. So, you dress it up real nice or whatever, and, you put on a good show or whatever, but soon as you peel back one layer, oh man, you can't sustain a net 30 or something because you need that check right now, And if you talk to a coach and they're more focused on the cost of paying them than whether or not they should even be working with you, we got my man Dave Anderson tuning in. One of the things he always tell people is like, look, I ain't for everybody. We got a process to see if I'm even going to work with you. Yeah, I charge this, but that don't mean I don't work with you just because you got the money. You know what I'm saying? But be willing to open your pocket, understand that this is an investment in you. I don't know what happens in this new society where everybody wants to invest on them and not in them. I'm going to talk about it. You want to invest on the outside so it could look like you're worth something on the inside, and you ain't worth the paper your birth certificate printed on, because the last time you invested something in yourself was back when you got your cap and gown. You know what? I'm going to fall back. I'm going to be nice. You know, but it's Sagittarius season. I get a pass. I'm just saying.
And George, let me just say something on the back of that. Believe it or not, coaches have coaches too. Because yes. I have a coach. I'm a coach, but I have a coach too. And I think that it's just a good investment to keep me where I need to be too, and to help me to continue to grow and be in integrity with my clients. You know, it goes hand in hand. So I love the integrity part of it that you talked about, because there's so much about that too. But coaches do have coaches. I have a coach. So we, you know.
And so that's like what, Kay had said, because the thing is, we are constantly pouring into people.
Exactly.
And I kind of talked about that in one of the videos I sent to you, that part of what you're doing, especially as a tired business owner, as a business owner in general, is it's self-care. And self-care, whether people understand or not, is not always pedicures and baths. Right. It is investing in things that are going to help you to get there. It's great. You can succeed on your own. You honestly can. You can read every book in the library. You can take every class. You can make it there. But why make it there tired and depleted? Why get there at 10%? Why even put yourself through that? Investing in yourself is a form of self-care. It's a form of self-care. Get a coach, somebody who can act as that sounding board to be that cheerleader. Why are you focused on keeping yourself motivated when you can have someone helping to keep you motivated? Why are you figuring out all of this stuff on your own when you can hire somebody who took the time, effort, and energy to invest in themselves and say, this is my area of expertise. This is my gift to give back to the world. Let me put that into you to help you get to where you're going. Invest in yourself. Love yourself. You invest in college. You invest in cars. You invest in homes. You invest in relationships. Where are you investing in you?
Yeah,
that is major.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to understand that if you are the star player, but the thing is that you are in the game. You're the quarterback. The coach is on the sideline. They see stuff you don't see.
That's right.
They see something, and that's why they're able to give that greater perspective, because you're driving down the field. You're trying to make the play. They see stuff coming at you don't quite see yet. And Kay ready to jump off the porch. I see it on your face. What you have for us, Kay?
I was thinking about one of my clients who was not a business owner, but she was ready to go to the C-suite. So she was ready to be CEO of a nonprofit. And it actually took us about 2 years. And when you talk about the investment, we started as a mentor-mentee situation. But as soon as she got serious, I noticed the change once she started investing monetarily. Once we moved from mentor to coach. And if you want to talk about receipts, she's now a CEO. But we had to really get down in what are you wearing? No, don't wear that. And baby, this is not about you. I'm going to tell you what they're looking for. So the first one that she went after, she didn't listen. And the second one she did, because it was like, no, you have to be able to hear, like, when I'm in the interview panel, I'm not trying to see your individuality per se and what you're wearing or how you think. I want to see how you can fit in this organization and how you can lead this organization. And I find that if I have to convince someone that it's an investment, they're not ready for a coach. You really want me just to kind of listen, and guess what? I don't volunteer in that anymore. So you're not going to drain me. And I think that's important, is that when you look at milestones, I set milestones with my client. And what is your objective? If you say you can't sleep at night and these are the reasons, is it finances, even connecting someone with somebody like you and your business, that's a victory, because we can measure that of where you were before and where you are now. We can measure kind of, the balance thing. That's a little tough. However, really getting people to say, like, okay, milestone, we're going to do 90 days. And if you're just starting, you may want to do 90-day increments. You may not be ready for 6 months a year, but just know to really get some measurable results and to get some impact, it's going to take about a year or 2 years for you to see some change. It's not a 30-day, 2-week thing. This is a process. So we're going to have milestones, but it's not a microwave thing. And so I think a lot of people think it's going to be instant. And it's like, oh, you've been messing up for 10 years. You think you're going to fix this today?
There's another part to this, though. Like, I think there's a disconnect between the coaching and the, for lack of better words, done for you. Somehow people think they're going to hire a coach for whatever aspect it is, and end of the hiring, it is fixed. Like, they don't think they have to do any more work because they hired a coach. No, you hired a coach to show you the work that needs to be done. Exactly. Give you this direction.
That action plan. They have to have an action plan. They have to have, something toward the goal, and that goes back to the generation we're in. We're in that instant gratification. Right? Everybody wants instant gratification. So if they can't get
the microwave stuff. But I'm gonna go and tell you, hey, it's something about when you warm that thing up on the stove, it stay hot a little longer. You got time to sit your plate down and find the right movie. By the time you do that with microwave, it's got cubes on that situation, And I think one of the other big points that I want to drive home on the investing in yourself. Earlier today, my longtime friend, I mentioned him at the top of the hour, John DeLosa, with A Solid Photography, went by his studio earlier. And I think he really got sick and tired of me telling him that I was impressed with the studio or whatever. But the reason being is because, first and foremost, he has the receipts. He posts them all the time. He does all the shoots for the Zulu Social Club, Essence Festival, et cetera. And he's been in the game, doing his thing, doing the necessary networking part as well as the photography part or whatever. And you've seen his work, but I see guys that, they buy a $200 camera and they stop right there. And they think they're going to turn this into $1 million business with a $200 camera. It's like, when the money starts to come, that's not your money to spend. That's the business growth fund, to be able to do more. And, somebody said this in conversation probably 3-4 years ago. They were frustrated with trying to support small businesses that they never see grow. Hiring a coach is part of investing in your growth, so also understand that when you hire a coach, that is not the extent of your investment. You have more work to do, you have a time investment, and you may have some other product investments to make your business, better.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say this a little bit, because if we have other coaches who are out there who are really just starting, I don't want anyone to feel like, I think a big thing is we kind of have this doubt in our minds, especially when you first started a business, that you have to be so perfect and you have to have all these good relationships and you have to have that. Sometimes you don't have that yet. And I don't want anyone to feel like anything that any of us are saying you don't have the receipts to prove that you can do it, so people shouldn't take a chance on you. I don't want to feed that demon that might be in your mind. Like, you're going to need to start somewhere. So if that's you, just be okay with starting somewhere else. You might not need a K, you might not need a George who are at the top of their game. You might need someone that's start with somebody there, but begin somewhere. It's just the biggest thing. And don't allow those things in your mind to scare you. Like, oh no, well, I'm not there. So I'm not going to succeed. People are going to pick me and they're not going to do that. This isn't that.
Don't let the fraud complex overtake you. Don't let the fraud complex overtake you, but at the same time, do not try to operate in an area you're not in, a field that you're not in.
You're not close, or just try it on and then take people's things. Like, that's not it.
Like don't overpromise and underdeliver. Don't tell someone you can deliver them this result and your life has not seen, your business or your life has not seen that result yet, like you don't know that about that. You know what I mean? So, and I think some part of it is failing your way to success. You know, I think having the right type of coach kind of cuts down on some of that a little bit, but it's necessary to, you know, do some failing to success, not faking it till you're making it, but actually failing your way, you know, to success. So we want to make sure everybody knows how to get in touch with you guys. So for B3 Health and Life Coaching, and they left this part out because part of the health coaching is also some nutrition and things of that nature. You know, your input is your output. So, you know, if your diet consists of only potato chips and Dr. Peppers, you're going to run out of gas at some point, you know. But to reach them, you can go to b3hlcoaching.com. The email is coachescorner@b3hlcoaching.com. And the phone number, is that the right phone number there, Shatan?
Yes, you can use that number. We've got three, but that's
one right from the sheet. And to get in touch with the Fiscal firm, you guys want to go and hit Kay Beeler at the fiscalfirm.com. You can reach her at 214-301-0500. And if you guys have any other questions about different types of coaches and things of that nature, feel free to hit us up at info@talkbossradio.com. My network is vast and I don't charge to connect people. I just ask that you approach people that's serious about their business being serious about yours. It's been another episode of Boss Talk Radio. We will see you guys on next week.
Thanks for having us, Jordan. Bye, Kay.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Bye, to you.